Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Aqui é Nath Rodrigues, do Inglês Natural. E no vídeo de hoje, eu vou te contar, vou compartilhar com vocês a minha história de como eu aprendi inglês. Então já vou avisando para vocês para ativarem as legendas aqui, porque eu vou falar tudo em inglês. Isso mesmo, então você pode escolher se quer português ou inglês. E aí, você vai ter a chance de praticar o seu listening. E eu tô contando aqui a história, eu vou contar a história de forma bem natural, entendeu? Sem script, sem nada. Porque esse é o objetivo do canal, né? Ajudar você a falar inglês de forma mais natural. Então é isso. Fica aí ligadinho, tá? Vamos começar agora. Let's get started.
Instituto de Linguística apresenta Inglês Natural, com Nath Rodrigues.
So I just want to say that I'm very excited to tell you my story, to just share with you a little bit of my journey, my English learning journey. So basically, I'll really try to keep the story short because it's a pretty long story.
Once upon a time, a long time ago.
I grew up in Brazil, I was born in Brazil, and I was raised in Brazil, and I had never left the country until like 2016, I think. I was probably, how old was I think? 23?
4 de perder, 8 para ganhar. 4.
Não, de 0 a 10. 0 a 10.
Guys, I don't do math really well, especially in English. Anyways, yeah, I grew up speaking Portuguese all the time, and I didn't really speak English like very well until very recently, honestly. I started dedicating myself to learning English in high school, like to really learning everything and becoming proficient. I was probably like 17, 18 years old. Yeah, I was 17 years old when I really started taking it seriously. But before that, I just have to tell you this really funny story. It's actually pretty cute too. When I was 4 or like 3 or 4 years old, my dad, he always tells me this story. Of course, I don't remember this. I was too young. But we went to a church, my parents and I, and my brother. I don't think my sister was even born at that time. We went to this church, and there was an American pastor. He was pretty funny, and he was making a lot of jokes. And my dad said that I was fascinated by the fact that man wasn't speaking Portuguese. He was speaking this language I had never heard before, and I couldn't keep my eyes off of him. And my dad said that even before the interpreter translated the jokes, I would laugh at the jokes, and I was just like so impressed. And at the end of the service, I went to my dad and I said, "Dad, I want to speak English." And he was like happy, right? Like, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's important to speak English. But then I was like, "Dad, you don't understand. I want to speak English right now. I want to speak English now." And I think I just kept repeating that, you know, like, I want to speak English. And my dad is like, "Yeah, but you have to learn first. How can you speak a language without learning it?" And I just kept saying that. Eventually I forgot, and I don't really remember studying English or thinking too much about English. I mean, I do remember that whenever we went to the airport, I would be fascinated by the people there passing by, speaking different languages. But of course, I didn't really know what languages they were speaking. But I remember that in my school, the English classes started in 5th grade. So I didn't really have English lessons growing up until I was 11 years old. That's when I first had an English class in school, and I remember that class very well. I remember the teacher taught us a song and we learned some greetings. But it was, you know, in that school, the English lessons were really, I don't even know how to describe, like, we couldn't really learn a lot. It was pretty much what happens in a lot of schools sometimes. And I remember we changed teachers a lot, and some of the teachers, even though I didn't even speak English, I could tell that they didn't know English very well. So the next year we moved to Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro.
The local temperature in Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, so we moved there, and I started going to a new school. And the way they taught English there was very different. In fact, so this was a military school, and there in this, you know, military system.
Sir, yes, sir! Sir, yes, sir!
And the way they taught those lessons, it was probably, I can't say probably now. And the way the English lessons were taught, I think it was pretty similar to what happens in English courses, like private English courses. I've never attended a private English course. I worked in some of them, but yeah, it was like pretty similar. Our textbooks were from Oxford and Cambridge, so yeah, pretty similar. So the way they taught English there was actually pretty good, and I had a very good foundation of English. But honestly, by the end of high school, I wasn't really fluent, like not even close to being fluent. I had a pretty good like grammar foundation, vocabulary foundation. I could understand pretty basic conversation, but I couldn't really carry out a conversation. I remember whenever I tried to listen to people speaking English on TV, I wouldn't understand natural spoken English. I was really used to textbook English, or that really bookish language. Yeah, so in high school, I had this brilliant idea that I wanted to be a teacher. I somehow fell in love with languages, and especially English. I just had this fascination with English again. It was kind of like that experience when I was a child. It all came back that year, senior year of high school, and we had to choose what we wanted to do for college. And I was like, yeah, letras. So in Brazil we call it letras, but in the United States it depends on the university. In some places they call it English language and literature or applied linguistics. Yeah, there's so many different names. But yeah, I wanted to be an English teacher, and my dream, my goal was to really transform the way English was taught in schools, and I really wanted to help those people who couldn't have access to English classes. I don't know, I just had this dream like all of a sudden, and yeah, I wanted to become an English teacher.
Miss Dumbbum ain't your teacher today? I am.
So in order for that to happen, I had to dedicate myself to learning English, right? So I started building my own study routine. So that's when I really started learning English on my own. And then I started going to college, so that really helped, the university, the classes in the university. So when I started going to college, it was really helpful because I was able to practice a lot. At first, I'm not gonna lie, it was terrifying because I feel like a lot of people, they already had a pretty good level of English in my class, and I couldn't really speak very well. I'd always get stuck. But the English lessons that I had in college, they weren't necessarily English lessons. We did things through English, like we would do presentations and read articles, but we didn't really learn the language. So I had to do that on my own, I had to really build my own study routine. By the way, if you're looking for a way to help you build a study routine, if you're interested in learning more about how you can do that, how you can build your own study routine, feel free to download my ebook that I just put together a few weeks ago. So the link is in the description below. So download it and let me know what you think. So I can actually remember the time when I could really understand, when I started understanding spoken English a lot better. It was when I increased my exposure to the language. So here's a tip for you. You really have to increase your exposure to the language. Sometimes I feel like a lot of students, they learn a lot about the language, but they don't spend enough time listening to the language as well, like doing both things. So when I started exposing myself to the language, I started doing things in the language. So for example, I would go grocery shopping and I would write my list in English. Or if I'm doing the dishes, or if I'm cooking, I would try to follow a recipe in English. I would pray in English. I would write my daily routine in English. I would do things in English all the time. I would write about my day. I would record voice notes to myself, just sharing about my day.
Oh my God!
So I can really remember having this on, like my own immersion, even though I was still in Brazil. And yeah, I didn't have to travel abroad to be able to learn English and become fluent. Yeah, I did everything while I was still in Brazil, even before I met my husband. Of course, that my English has improved a lot. When I started dating Jonathan, my husband, he's American, of course, like every day speaking English and learning a lot of slang terms and idioms. Of course, that really helped me. But I had built that foundation before because I was always really focused on my goal. I wanted to be an English teacher. I wanted to give my best. I wanted to speak English really well to be able to help people learn as well. So still in my first year of college, I started teaching English. So I always tell my students, I always tell everyone that I learned English, like a lot of what I know, I learned by teaching. So many times I would teach a lesson and I wasn't really sure I wasn't very familiar with the whole vocabulary or grammar structure. So I would learn that so I could teach my students. Seriously, I did that for so long and that really helped me.
Olha lá. Então olha só.
A lot of people ask me, Natalie, when did you realize you were fluent in English? I don't think there's such a thing as an epiphany or something and you're like, suddenly you realize, oh, I'm fluent. No, I don't think it works like that. I guess the more I studied, the more I exposed myself to the language, the better I got. And whenever I came across situations in which I had to speak English, I was successful. I was able to communicate, and that's how I realized that, well, actually, I'm fluent. Look at that. I was able to buy this thing. I was able to do this. I could have this conversation with this person. That's when I realized I was fluent. So yeah, that's pretty much my story. That's how I learned English. I think having a study routine really helped me. And again, I've just told you guys that I put together an ebook to help you build your own study routine. So download it right now and start right now. I feel like you guys are waiting too much. Get started. Build your own study routine. You have this book for free. Go ahead, enjoy the opportunity. Então é isso, pessoal. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Me conta aí nos comentários o quanto você entendeu, se eu falei muito rápido ou não. Eu tentei realmente falar de forma mais natural, como eu falo no dia a dia, para vocês, se acostumarem. Não se esquece de se inscrever no canal, ativar notificações, tá? Também nos segue no TikTok, no Instagram. A gente tem um canal também no Telegram. E é isso. Lembrando mais uma vez o nosso e-book, tá bom? É isso por hoje e see you next time. Bye!